川やらにさえしえず馬は倒れる捨ててもおけずここはいい
The Warring States period in Japan was a period in which wars occurred frequently from the end of the 15th century to the end of the 16th century in Japanese history. And the imperial family killed each other with the aim of unifying the world of Japanese territory. Since ancient times in Japan, the lord has the right to decide whether or not to finally, in other words, the final decision is left to the judgment of the emperor. However, no one has actually experienced events that are more than 100 years past, because everyone is already dead. Past events have been handed down as historical records, but no one knows the truth. However, let's talk about the flow of the times from the modern history of Japan described in Japanese school textbooks. He fought with China for about 9 months from July 25, 1894 to April 17, 1895. The Japanese continued to invade other countries while killing all the Chinese. About half a year later, Japan won. Ships participating in the naval battle of the Japanese Navy greatly contributed to the situation of the war. And it is recorded that the Chinese side paid a large amount of damages to the Japanese government. It's a terrible story, but that's the fact. At that time, the Japanese army invaded the Korean Peninsula, now South Korea and North Korea, to nationalize it as a colony. But it seems that Japan won overwhelmingly in the war, with the Chinese army confronting it to attack and defend it. First of all, there is a problem with the behavior pattern of killing Chinese and Koreans like animals. However, nothing is written in the textbook about this, and no one says it. On the contrary, Chinese and Korean textbooks seem to clearly state that they were murdered by the Japanese. Therefore, even now, a good relationship is basically not established between China and South Korea. In other words, the relationship between the two countries is very bad. Rather, it highlights the national sentiment of wanting to beat each other. At that time, the Chinese army responded to the progress of Japan, but there are records that China was declared defeated because the Japanese army pressed the area around the capital Beijing. It became a form of overwhelming victory of the Japanese army. China acknowledged the loss in the defeat, handed over Taiwan to Japan, and the Chinese side agreed to pay damages of 311 million yen to Japan, ending the war. I think it's a one-sided statement, but it's not written in Japanese textbooks either. Indeed, it was a murder and aggression to another country by the selfish behavior of the Japanese, and it was a gathering of villains during the war.